In a galaxy far away, a cruel tyrant named Zorath ruled with an iron fist. His empire stretched across many planets, and fear spread like wildfire among the people. Zorath had a powerful army that used advanced technology to keep everyone under control. Planets that resisted his rule were quickly crushed. No one dared to challenge him, not even the bravest warriors. On a small, rocky planet called Elysium, a group of humans lived quietly, far from Zorath's grasp. They had built a small colony filled with laughter, hope, and dreams. But deep beneath the surface of Elysium, something extraordinary lay hidden. Long ago, ancient beings had left behind incredible technology that could bend space and time itself. The humans had no idea of the power they possessed. One day, while digging for resources, a young engineer named Alex stumbled upon a strange, glowing artifact. He carefully pulled it from the ground and took it back to the colony. When Alex showed it to Dr. Ilara, the colony's top scientist, her eyes widened in shock and excitement. "What have you found, Alex?" she asked, brushing her long hair behind her ear. "I'm not sure," he replied, holding out the glowing object. "But it seems special." Dr. Ilara studied the artifact closely. "This is incredible! This device can manipulate space and time. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to use it against Zorath." Her heart raced at the thought. News of the discovery spread quickly through the colony. People gathered in the main hall, their faces filled with hope and curiosity. Dr. Ilara explained how the device could create time bubbles and distort reality. The humans listened intently, dreaming of freedom from Zorath's tyranny. However, deep in the heart of Zorath's empire, his spies had picked up whispers of the humans' discovery. Zorath sat on his throne, a sinister smile on his face. He was a tall figure with a cold gaze, draped in a dark robe that signified his power. "What is this about humans and ancient technology?" he demanded, slamming his fist on the table. His generals flinched at the sound. "My lord," one of the generals replied, "we believe they have found a device that can alter space and time. It could be a threat to your rule." Zorath's eyes narrowed. "If they can control such power, they must be destroyed. Send my fleet to the planet. We will crush their hope before it grows." Back on Elysium, Dr. Ilara and her team worked day and night to unlock the secrets of the glowing artifact. They gathered in a small laboratory, surrounded by beeping machines and screens filled with data. As they experimented, they created a small time bubble that trapped a few items floating in the air. "This is amazing!" Alex exclaimed, watching the items twist and float. "Imagine what we could do against Zorath." But Dr. Ilara was cautious. "We must be careful. If Zorath learns of our power, he will come for us. We need a plan." Days turned into weeks as they prepared for the inevitable battle. The colony buzzed with a mix of fear and excitement. Everyone believed in Dr. Ilara and her vision of a free future. As the day of the attack approached, they knew they had to show Zorath that they were not afraid. On the day of the attack, the sky darkened as Zorath's ships arrived, casting shadows over the colony. The humans gathered, hearts pounding as Dr. Ilara stood before them. "Today we fight for our freedom," she shouted. "We will show Zorath that we will not be cowed." With that, the humans activated the artifact, creating a small time bubble that trapped one of Zorath's ships. As the crew aboard the ship panicked, the humans cheered, filled with hope and determination. Little did they know, the battle for their freedom had only just begun, and Zorath was not a tyrant to be taken lightly. But for the first time, the humans had a weapon, and they were ready to fight for their lives and their future. The sun rose over the rocky landscape of Elysium, casting a warm glow on the colony. Excitement and fear filled the air as the humans prepared for the impending battle against Zorath's mighty fleet. They had successfully trapped one of his ships, but they knew it would not be long before he sent more forces to crush them. Dr. Ilara gathered her team in the lab, where the glowing artifact pulsed softly in the center of the room. The mood was tense, but there was also a sense of hope. The team needed a solid plan to defend themselves and show Zorath they were not afraid. "We must use the technology wisely," Dr. Ilara said, her voice steady. "If we can create a bigger time bubble, we might be able to trap multiple ships at once. This could give us the upper hand in the battle." Alex raised his hand, eager to contribute. "But how do we create a bigger bubble? The last one was only small and trapped just a few objects." Dr. Ilara nodded, appreciating his enthusiasm. "That's the challenge. We need to combine the energy from the artifact with our power sources. If we can channel enough energy, we might create a larger bubble that can ensnare Zorath's fleet. The team worked tirelessly, day and night, to perfect their plan. They gathered every resource they could find and tested various configurations. Each failure brought them closer to success. As the days passed, they learned more about the ancient technology, but time was running out. Finally, after a week of hard work, the humans were ready to try their bold plan. They gathered in the main hall where Dr. Ilara stood before them, her eyes shining with determination. "Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every planet under Zorath's rule," she declared. "We will show him the true power of humanity." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by her words. Alex felt a surge of confidence. "We will win this battle!" he shouted, raising his fist in the air. As the sun began to set, the sound of Zorath's ships filled the sky. Dark clouds of smoke loomed overhead as the Imperial fleet approached. The humans quickly moved to their positions, their hearts racing. The time for action had arrived. Dr. Ilara and her team activated the artifact, and it began to glow brighter. The energy surged through the lab as they worked together, pushing their limits. Suddenly, a bright light enveloped the room, and a large time bubble formed around the colony. "There it is! It worked!" Alex exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. Outside, Zorath's fleet began to attack. Lasers and missiles lit up the sky, but the humans stood their ground. They had prepared for this moment. As the first wave of Zorath's ships drew closer, Dr. Ilara focused on the artifact, willing it to expand. The time bubble grew, stretching out toward the approaching fleet. "Now!" she shouted, pointing toward the enemy ships. With a surge of energy, the bubble expanded, enveloping several of Zorath's ships. The Imperial crew looked on in horror as they realized they were trapped. Confusion spread through their ranks and panic set in. "Fire the weapons! Break free!" Zorath's voice boomed through the chaos. But it was too late. The humans had successfully trapped a portion of his fleet. Cheers erupted from the colony as they watched their plan succeed. They had taken the first step toward freedom, and the feeling of victory coursed through them. But they knew this was only the beginning. As Dr. Ilara continued to control the bubble, she felt a surge of pride for her team. They had come together against overwhelming odds and found strength in unity. But she also felt a twinge of worry. Zorath was not just any tyrant. He would not take this defeat lightly. "Prepare for his counterattack," Dr. Ilara ordered, her voice firm. "We must be ready for whatever he throws at us next." As the humans braced for the battle ahead, they understood the risks involved. They had ignited a spark of hope in the galaxy, but they also knew Zorath would come back with a vengeance. The bold plan had worked, but the real fight was just beginning. The battle raged on over Elysium, and the air crackled with energy. Zorath's trapped ships struggled against the expanding time bubble, their weapons firing wildly but achieving nothing. The humans watched in disbelief as their bold plan started to pay off, but they knew Zorath would not give up easily. Inside the command ship, Zorath seethed with anger. He slammed his fist on the console. How could they have done this? "Those pathetic humans! I will not allow them to defy me." His generals shuffled nervously, fearing his wrath. "Lord Zorath," one of the generals spoke cautiously, "we must regroup. We have lost several ships already. We need a new strategy." Zorath narrowed his eyes. "You think I am afraid of a handful of humans? Send in the rest of the fleet! We will crush them once and for all!" Back on Elysium, Dr. Ilara and her team monitored the battle from their control center. The trapped ships were losing their power, but Zorath's other ships began to move in. The situation was becoming desperate. "Dr. Ilara," Alex said, looking at the readings on the screens, "we need to expand the bubble even more, or we'll be overwhelmed. If Zorath breaks through, he'll come for us." Dr. Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "You're right. We need to channel every bit of energy we have. Let's give it everything we've got!" The team sprang into action, each person working tirelessly to power the artifact. As they concentrated, the glowing device pulsed with light, responding to their determination. The time bubble started to grow, reaching out to capture more of Zorath's fleet. "We're doing it!" Alex shouted, his voice filled with excitement. "It's getting bigger!" Outside, the trapped ships began to falter, their weapons systems failing as the bubble expanded around them. The remaining Zorath ships hesitated, sensing the tide was turning against them. "Launch all remaining fighters!" Zorath ordered, his voice echoing through the command ship. Do not let them gain the upper hand. The skies above Elysium erupted with Zorath's remaining fleet, sending out smaller attack ships that raced toward the humans' position. The humans braced themselves, ready to defend their home. Dr. Alara turned to her team. We need to hold our ground. If we can trap more of Zorath's ships, we can turn this battle in our favor. As the smaller attack ships approached, the humans activated their defenses. They used whatever weapons they had, lasers, missiles, and even makeshift traps. The battle was fierce, but the humans fought with everything they had. Keep firing! Aim for the enemy ships! Alex shouted, rallying his fellow fighters. With the artifact's energy amplifying their defenses, they managed to knock out several of Zorath's smaller ships. It was a fierce fight, and the humans began to realize their strength. They were not just fighting to survive, they were fighting for their freedom. As the chaos unfolded, Dr. Alara focused on the artifact, willing it to expand the bubble further. The glowing light pulsed brighter, and suddenly, it engulfed another group of Zorath's ships. Look! It's working! One of the team members shouted, pointing at the screens. With each ship that fell into the bubble, the tide of battle shifted. Zorath's forces began to panic. They had underestimated the humans and their newfound power. This can't be happening! Zorath shouted, his face turning red with fury. Retreat! We need to regroup! The order spread through the fleet, but it was too late. The humans pushed forward, emboldened by their success. They felt a surge of confidence as they saw Zorath's ships fall back. Dr. Alara smiled, feeling hope bloom in her heart. We're turning the tide! Let's press the attack! With renewed energy, the humans launched a counteroffensive. They fought with determination, pushing back against Zorath's retreating ships. As the last of the enemy vessels disappeared into the distance, the humans cheered, their voices echoing across the colony. They had turned the tide of the battle, proving that they were not weak or helpless. But Dr. Alara knew this victory was just the beginning. Zorath would not stay quiet for long. We must prepare for his return, she said, looking at her team. This fight is far from over. We need to be ready. With their spirits high and newfound confidence, the humans prepared for whatever Zorath would throw at them next. They had faced their fears and discovered their strength. Together they would continue to fight for their freedom and for every planet that Zorath sought to conquer. The atmosphere around Elysium crackled with tension as the humans prepared for what they knew would be Zorath's final attempt to crush them. After losing many ships, the tyrant was furious and desperate. He would not let this defeat stand. In the command center, Dr. Alara gathered her team for a strategy meeting. The room was filled with maps and displays showing Zorath's remaining forces. She could see the determination in her team's eyes, but she also noticed the worry. They all knew how powerful Zorath could be when he was backed into a corner. Listen up, Dr. Alara began, her voice steady. Zorath will strike hard and fast. We must be ready for anything. We have the advantage, but we cannot underestimate him. Alex raised his hand. What if he tries to break through our defenses? He has powerful weapons. Dr. Alara nodded. We need to use the artifact to create a shield. It can protect us from his attacks while we prepare our counteroffensive. We'll set traps around the colony to catch his ships off guard. The team sprang into action, each member knowing their role. They worked tirelessly, setting up defenses and readying their weapons. The artifact glowed brightly in the center of the lab, a symbol of their hope and determination. Meanwhile, Zorath plotted his revenge. Inside his command ship, he paced back and forth, rage burning in his eyes. Those filthy humans will pay for their insolence, he shouted, slamming his fist into the control panel. Prepare the fleet! We will crush them once and for all! His general stood by, fearful of his fury. Lord Zorath, we must be strategic, one general said cautiously. Rushing in without a plan could lead to more losses. Zorath growled. I will not listen to your cowardice! Launch the full assault! As Zorath's fleet approached Elysium, Dr. Alara's team stood ready. The tension was thick, and the silence was broken only by the sounds of machinery and the hum of the artifact. They could see the enemy ships in the distance, a dark cloud moving toward them. Here they come! Alex shouted, pointing at the screens. Dr. Alara focused on the artifact, channeling its energy. Activate the shield now! With a flash of light, a protective barrier enveloped the colony. The shield shimmered like glass, reflecting the light from the enemy ships. Zorath's fleet unleashed a barrage of lasers and missiles, but they bounced off harmlessly. Direct hits! The shield is holding, a team member reported. relief flooding his voice. "Now's our chance!" Dr. Ilara yelled. "Prepare the counterattack!" As Zorath's ships reloaded for another strike, the humans launched their counteroffensive. Missiles and lasers shot out from the colony, targeting Zorath's fleet. The humans fought with all their might, filled with courage and the will to protect their home. Zorath watched in disbelief as his ships began to fall. "What is happening? This cannot be!" he yelled, fury and desperation rising within him. "Retreat! We must regroup!" a general shouted, but Zorath's pride would not allow it. "No! We will not back down! We will show them the power of the Galactic Empire!" he roared, rallying his forces for one last charge. The humans felt the ground shake as Zorath ordered a full-on assault. The enemy ships closed in, their weapons aimed at the colony. The tension was palpable and the battle raged fiercely. The humans fought valiantly, pushing back against the onslaught. Dr. Ilara kept her focus on the artifact, channeling its energy to maintain the shield. But the strain was immense, and she could feel the weight of the battle pressing down on her. "Hold strong!" she shouted to her team. "We can't let up now!" As the tide of battle turned once more, Zorath's ships found a weakness in the shield. One of his larger ships fired a powerful weapon, and the shield flickered. "Dr. Ilara?" "The shield is weakening!" Alex shouted, panic in his voice. Dr. Ilara gritted her teeth, feeling the strain. "We need to redirect more energy. Focus everything on the shield." With a surge of power, the shield glowed brighter, momentarily stabilizing. But Zorath, sensing his opportunity, charged forward, determined to break through. In that moment of chaos, the artifact pulsed violently. It was responding to the fight, and Dr. Ilara felt its energy surge. "Now, let's finish this!" she shouted. With one final push, the humans unleashed everything they had. The artifact exploded with light, and Zorath's fleet was caught in the blast. The energy waves swept over them, pulling several ships into the time bubble. As the dust settled, Zorath's command ship was surrounded. The tyrant realized he had underestimated the humans once again. Fear washed over him as he prepared for the inevitable defeat. "Retreat!" he bellowed, but it was too late. The tide had turned, and Zorath's last stand was crumbling before him. The humans cheered, their voices echoing through the colony. They had fought bravely and turned the tide against a powerful foe. Yet Dr. Ilara knew this was not the end. Zorath would return, but for now, they had won. The battle over Elysium had ended, and the once dark skies were now clear. Zorath's fleet had been defeated, and the humans stood victorious. They gathered in the main plaza of the colony, their faces filled with joy and relief. Dr. Ilara looked out at her team and the citizens of Elysium. They had fought hard against the Galactic Tyrant and emerged stronger. "We did it!" she shouted, her voice ringing out over the crowd. "We have shown Zorath that we will not back down." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices lifting into the air like a wave of hope. Alex stepped forward, a broad smile on his face. "This is just the beginning. We have proven that we can stand against anyone who threatens us." The people of Elysium celebrated their victory with music, dancing, and stories of their bravery. They knew that they had fought not just for their lives, but for their freedom. The sense of unity was palpable, and for the first time in a long while, the fear of Zorath had faded away. As the sun set over Elysium, Dr. Ilara gathered her team in the command center. The atmosphere was lighter, but she could see the determination still shining in their eyes. "We must stay vigilant," she said, her voice steady. "Zorath may have retreated, but he will not give up easily. We need to prepare for what comes next." One of her team members, Sam, nodded. "I agree. We should strengthen our defenses and explore new technologies. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught off guard again." Dr. Ilara smiled at her team. "Exactly. Let's start working on upgrades for the artifact. If we can harness its power further, we will be ready for any future threats." Over the following days, the humans worked tirelessly to improve their defenses. Engineers and scientists collaborated to understand the artifact better, discovering new ways to amplify its energy. They shared ideas and supported one another, growing closer as a team. Meanwhile, the news of their victory spread across the galaxy. Other planets that had suffered under Zorath's rule reached out, seeking alliances. They saw the humans as a beacon of hope and strength. One morning, as Dr. Ilara reviewed the data from the artifact, a transmission came through. It was a holographic message from a nearby planet, Alara. The leader, a tall being with shimmering blue skin, spoke with urgency. We have heard of your victory against Zorath. We seek your help. The tyrant is threatening our world, and we fear for our people." Dr. Alara felt a surge of determination. "We will help you. Together we can stand against Zorath and any other threats. We will not allow fear to control us." The leader of Alara smiled, relief washing over his face. "Thank you. We will send our forces to support you." As the days turned into weeks, more planets joined their cause. The humans had become a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Dr. Alara and her team organized a summit, bringing together leaders from various planets to form a coalition. They met in the Grand Hall of Elysium, each representative sharing their stories and pledging their support. "Together we can create a strong alliance," Dr. Alara said to the gathering. "We have fought hard and we will fight harder together. We will protect our worlds from Zorath and ensure freedom for all." The coalition agreed to share resources, knowledge, and strategies. They trained together, learning from one another. The humans were no longer alone in their fight. They had allies who believed in their strength. As they prepared for future battles, Dr. Alara looked out over the horizon, her heart full of hope. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious, but she knew challenges lay ahead. Zorath was still out there plotting his revenge. But now they had a united front. They had allies and strength in numbers. And most importantly, they had each other. "This is just the beginning," Dr. Alara thought as she looked at her team, her friends, and the new allies around her. "We will protect our freedom no matter the cost. Together we will face whatever comes our way." The humans and their allies stood united, ready to fight for their future. They had turned the tide against tyranny and discovered the power of unity. As they looked to the stars, they knew that a new beginning awaited them.